In a busy produce yard, a forklift operator notices a tall stack of crates starting to shift. Acting on instinct, he makes an unsafe choice. Never, ever leave the protection of the forklift cab in an attempt to influence or stabilize a moving or unstable load. In an excavation area, a worker is inside an unprotected trench. As work continues along the edge, the surrounding soil begins to lose stability. Trench instability is one of the most serious hazards encountered on construction sites. To prevent this, never enter a trench deeper than 1.5 meters unless an approved protective system is in place. Always use trench boxes, shoring systems, or engineered shielding designed to support the surrounding soil. In a demolition area, a worker spots a metal sheet protruding from a brick wall and tries to pull it free. As he applies force, he unknowingly disturbs the structural element. Never, ever manually pull on rebar, metal sheeting, or debris embedded in a standing wall. These materials often serve as internal connections that help distribute weight and maintain structural integrity. Removing them can compromise support while simultaneously applying lateral force to masonry, which is designed primarily to support vertical loads. In a construction environment, an operator carefully backs a cat skid steer down steep, narrow ramps. As the machine tips onto the incline, its balance begins to change. This situation illustrates a failure to follow the heavy end uphill rule. Skid steers have a short wheelbase, and when the bucket is empty, the engine places more weight toward the rear of the machine. By backing down the ramp, the operator positioned the heaviest portion of the machine on the downhill side, allowing the center of balance to move beyond a stable range. To prevent this, always keep the heaviest end of the machine facing uphill. When the bucket is empty, drive forward down the ramp. Only back down a ramp when carrying a heavy load in the bucket. In addition, never use narrow or portable ramps for heavy equipment. High on a building frame, a worker steps onto a loose metal beam, assuming it's secure, but that wasn't the case. Never step onto unsecured materials near an exposed edge. This creates what is commonly referred to as a teeter-totter hazard. When a beam or plank extends beyond its support point and is not secured, body weight acts as a lever. Once the balance point is exceeded, the surface can shift unexpectedly. To reduce risk, treat all loose materials near edges as unstable until they have been verified and secured. Any decking or beams extending beyond an edge must be physically fastened, clearly barricaded, or removed immediately. This is also why fall arrest systems are essential. Properly worn safety harnesses are designed to limit downward travel if footing is lost. In an active aggregate yard, a worker stands in the travel path of a moving wheel loader. With the bucket raised, the operator's forward view is severely limited. Wheel loaders have inherent forward visibility limitations caused by the bucket and lift arms. When material is carried, the operator's view of the travel path can be obstructed for several meters, creating a visibility zone where ground personnel may not be easily detected from the cab. To prevent this, ground workers must treat equipment travel paths as restricted areas unless clear eye contact has been established with the operator. Operators should keep the bucket as low as practical during travel to improve visibility. If forward visibility is obstructed, the loader should be operated in reverse or guided by a trained spotter. In a workshop, a worker climbs a ladder to retrieve a heavy rolled rug from a loft. Instead of lowering it safely, he releases it, striking the ladder below. Never throw or release heavy materials while positioned on an unsecured ladder. Sudden movement or impact can disrupt the friction that keeps the ladder stable. Any force applied to the ladder rails or an abrupt change in balance can quickly compromise a previously secure setup. To prevent this, always use a rope, hand line, or mechanical aid to lower bulky items safely. Maintain 3 points of contact on the ladder at all times. If an object is too large or heavy to manage with one hand, a ladder should not be used. In this warehouse environment, a forklift operator selects reverse and begins traveling without first verifying that the area behind the machine is clear. Never engage reverse gear without physically turning your body and visually confirming the intended path of travel. Forklifts have significant blind areas behind the counterweight, and relying solely on mirrors or assumptions introduces unnecessary operational risk. To prevent this, follow the look then move rule. Rotate your body and maintain visual focus in the direction of travel while reversing. If visibility is limited, stop the forklift and request assistance from a spotter. Inside an automotive workshop, a red sedan is raised on a two-post lift. Improper arm placement creates an uneven load as the vehicle remains elevated. Never assume lift points on a vehicle's frame. If the weight is not evenly distributed between the lift arms, even minor changes in load can cause the vehicle to shift relative to the lift pads. To reduce risk, always raise the vehicle only a short distance off the ground first and perform a controlled stability check. Refer to the manufacturer's lift point diagram for the specific vehicle model. When removing heavy components such as engines or transmissions, use tall jack stands to compensate for changes in weight distribution. In this transport yard, workers open the side railing of a flatbed truck in preparation for loading. As a forklift approaches with an elevated load, slight movement occurs while ground personnel remain positioned nearby. Never position yourself within the active loading zone of an elevated forklift load. When cargo is raised, the area beside the truck becomes a restricted space. Changes in mast, angle, or load position can cause the cargo to shift beyond its original alignment. To prevent this, all ground personnel must relocate to a clearly designated safe area before lifting begins. Operators should verify load stability prior to raising cargo and should only approach the truck once the surrounding area is visibly clear of people. At a loading dock, a forklift begins backing out of a shipping container. Before operations are complete, the truck pulls forward. Never rely solely on timing or assumptions during dock operations. If communication is interrupted or procedures are not followed precisely, the trailer can move out of position, creating a hazardous separation between the dock and the trailer. To reduce risk, strictly follow the chock and lock procedure. Wheel chocks must be installed before loading begins, and dock locks should be engaged whenever available. A key exchange policy, where the forklift operator retains the truck keys until loading is complete, adds an additional layer of protection. On this street, a team of workers attempts to manually lift a massive steel panel onto a truck bed. But as they raise it, the oversized load suddenly tilts past its balance point. Never attempt to manually lift or control large, heavy materials that exceed safe human handling limits. Large panels have high centers of gravity and can shift unexpectedly. Once the panel begins to tilt even slightly, the leverage created becomes extremely difficult to counter by hand, putting anyone nearby at risk. Mechanical lifting equipment must be used for heavy structural materials. When a large panel begins to tip, workers should step back immediately. Trying to stabilize a shifting load manually only increases the risk for everyone involved. To keep learning from these important workplace safety lessons, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Stay aware, stay safe.